The Unfiltered Business Podcast, a place where young professionals come together to grow, evolve, and change for the better. A place where success is accessible. Welcome to the show. What is up, fam? It is the Unfiltered Business Podcast. I am your host, Derek Thomas. We are hosted here by Polygon Market. Welcome back. This is episode 8, I believe, maybe 7, maybe 8, something like that. But we have Kasey Reid on the show today. Kasey is a very interesting guy. I met him through social media and through my wife, Allison, through a number of different networks that we're involved with. But basically, he has a full-time job and he runs a creative agency on the side. And so we talk a lot about kind of balancing the two worlds that he lives in. Making sure that his clients are happy while still making sure that he's doing a good job at his own job that he is on salary for. A lot of cool dynamics that I was interested to hear on. These were things that totally overwhelmed me. I I talked to him I'm pretty transparent during this podcast, just going like, man, I don't know how you do it. So it's interesting to hear how he kind of goes through life while tackling both his passion on the side and having enough energy to kind of do the other thing, which is not easy. And I give him a lot of credit for that. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. Stay tuned for that. On another note, so I think I mentioned to you guys in the last podcast, I record these things on Monday evenings when they come out on Wednesdays. So today was just one of those like human days, I guess you'd call them, right? Like we all talk about how, you try and get over things and not let things bother you. But today was just one of those days where I just like could not get my shit together. I won't go too in details about what happened, but it was interesting. I woke up, was very motivated to get things done today, had a great, probably like 3/4 of the day. And then I got a text message from a friend and it was just like, it felt like the whole world was crumbling down. And I was trying to figure out kind of like what the hell is bothering me, right? Like why is this such a big deal? And it's interesting just on a very like looking down from a bird's eye view, just like how humans kind of interact and how we do these things together, because anybody who's on Instagram has seen these motivational clips or quotes or whatever you want to call them, where it's like, hey, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. And easier said than done, let's put it that way. It's just one of those things where you're literally thinking to yourself like, why the fuck is this bothering me? Why do I care? Why is this something that means so much to me that I need to? Why is this like occupying space in my brain, keeping me from doing things that really matter? And the truth is there's like no real good answer, and like I'll admit it, I'm a pretty sensitive guy. I've had moments in my life where you just kind of realize that not everyone may react this way. Like this is kind of your thing, so you may be alone. And I've had to learn to like deal with that. And I think it's one of those things where it was something that I've battled with a lot in the last like 3 years. Ever since starting the business, like I was trying to figure out kind of who I was as a person, who I was as a salesperson, who I was as a husband, you name it. And I had to kind of face the facts that, I am this way, and it's not a weakness. It's not something that makes me less than. It's what makes me me, and it's what actually gives me kind of an edge in a different way. And I think it's that sensitivity side that I have that helps me tap into helping different clients and realizing different feelings that may be going unsaid and different things like that. And so on one hand, I have this thing that I have inside of me that's very intuitive and can kind of figure things out. Like I said, without anything being said or without anything being transmitted. But on the other hand, it can cripple me. It's like one simple thing that, the person who said it may not even think about it, right? They may not think twice about it, but, the way it comes off or the way it just like, it completely cripples me. And I've been kind of I don't want to say I'm a mess. I'm being very dramatic right now, but it's just one of those things where like since 3:30 today and it's, close to 7:30 now, it's like been occupying this space in my brain. And you're literally going like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you letting this bother you? You know? And it's just one of those things. Like it's just part of me, and that's part of me that I've had to be okay with, because I'll be fine. I'm always okay, And again, I'm being very dramatic right now. I just wanted to. People have been asking me to share a little bit more about myself on this podcast, so I thought today would be a good day, just because it was a very, like I said, human day. I'm actually having a beer because it's just one of those days. But anyways, that's enough about me. I know I didn't share a whole lot, but I did share a little bit about kind of like how my brain operates. And so, anyways, maybe we can get into it later. If you guys want to know more about me, just let me know. Back to today's podcast. Again, Kasey Reid, great guy. He's the owner of Brave Media. He also has a podcast called the Creatively Paid Podcast. This was a very interesting piece that we touch on today. And one of his passions is helping these creatives get their businesses off the ground. And I think it's very admirable what he's doing, because many creatives struggle with that side of it. They have the vision, they have the skills to pull things off, but sometimes they don't have the wherewithal to kind of understand the business side of things, and kind of grasp how to generate revenue, and actually build a business around what it is that they're doing. So, and that's a big passion of his. So we talk a lot about that, but um, I think you guys will enjoy it. It's a little bit shorter this week. Last week with Nick and I can talk for hours. We went over an hour. This one, we're back to the kind of like the 30-minute side, which is kind of my goal with all these things. But Nick and I had a lot of fun, so I don't want to take anything away from that. But anyways, let's get to the show. Kasey Reid. I hope you guys enjoy it. Take care. Kasey, this is a different format for me. Typically, I'm talking with people that I know pretty well. I'm branching out. You're the first one of hopefully many of people that I don't know very well. So I kind of want to learn a little bit about you. You were introduced to me from my wife, Allison, and we actually went on your podcast once, but I'd love to know more about you. Kind of what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, for me, I work full time in IT, right? I
Okay.
work in IT support, and I've been doing that for close to 5 years at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, and whilst doing that, for the past, I would say close to 8 years at this point,
Mm-hmm.
I've been running my creative business. It's called Brave Media. Where with that I do like web design, branding, and photography work
Got
with
it.
that. And that started during college times and kind of continued through. So yeah, so I've been doing those two things for, yeah, I would say together, those two things in terms of working full time and
Mm-hmm.
running my creative business and just offering creative services. It's been about 5 to 6 years with those things combined.
Okay.
And then in the last year, like 2020, I started my podcast, the Creatively Paid Podcast. And
Right.
yeah, for the most part, that's kind of like the majority of the things that I kind of spend my time
I
doing
mean, that's
at
a
the
lot of
moment.
stuff. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
one of the main reasons why, I mean, we were introduced to each other through Allison because of your media company, and because of what you do and the podcast and stuff. So for what I'm interested in digging into a little bit more about is the idea of working full time while also having this business on the side.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. um, when I was ready to leave my job, right, my previous employer, um, I got a lot of pushback. The idea was, hey,
Mm,
I'm going to leave my job. I want to start this new thing with my wife. Um, we're going to go full bore, 100%. This is going to be our thing. And the
right.
reaction,
Yeah.
the reaction was like, what the hell are you doing? Why? It was a good job. It had good
Yeah.
benefits, it had everything. And everyone was like, why don't you do something on the side? So I'm curious as to kind of how you tackle it, because for me, it just seems too overwhelming. So I would love to hear
Yeah.
kind of how you go about it.
Honestly, it can definitely be overwhelming, but
Hmm.
for the most part, how I've kind of done it now is that I would definitely say in the last 2 years, I've realized that I have to be even more mindful of my time
Mm,
management, because when you're trying to run your own thing, your own side business, as well as working full time, you have a lot less time than someone who's doing it full time. So
yeah,
your hours are that much more precious to you in terms of what you do and what you decide to spend time on. So for
totally.
me, I really like learned to dedicate like as best as possible like dedicated time to business stuff and dedicated time to, okay, how can I improve for my full-time work, or any little thing that I might do that might extend outside of normal work hours, or even during work hours, still being able to be a productive employee, as
Right.
opposed to like like a slack employee because you have your own thing, right?
Sure.
So for me, I had to master time management, and it's still something that I to this day I'm trying to learn how to do in a much more efficient way. And that involves like even having other people do things for me, paying other people to help me with
Hmm.
various tasks and so on. So I can be as efficient as possible, and I can also focus on kind of the main thing in terms of what I do with my creative business. Like when it comes to any projects that I might have for a client, I want to be able to do my creative work the best I can, as opposed to
Yeah.
being too stretched with like, oh, I have to spend a lot of time with the sales of it, or the accounting, or the legal side of things, and so on and so forth. So
Right.
yeah, 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 it
It's
was
a
a
lot,
lot,
man.
and
Well,
it
I
still
mean,
is.
well, the thing that I think is most interesting is, you kind of talked about it. You're like, I don't want to be a slacker at the person who employs me. And so
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is like, you have two, I mean, because we go through the same thing, you own a creative agency sort of thing. We own a creative agency. So it's like, there's millions of things going on. You have multiple
Yeah.
projects you're trying to balance at one time. And, the priority is both things. It's like I don't really
Yeah.
want to pick one over the other. And that's the part that I find interesting, is because you obviously have the empathy of like, this is the guy who pays my salary, or however it is that you guys get paid, but it's like
Yeah.
I can't let them down. But I also have this thing that I'm passionate and that I care about because it's mine. And so I
Right.
have to give all of my time for that as well. So it's great that you're able to delegate. I mean, it's just, to be honest, it's overwhelming just to think about. Like, I mean, kudos to you
Yeah.
for being able to pull it off. Seriously.
Yeah. It really is a lot, man. But I'm just learning more and more with the time management side of things. Also, I'm kind of learning to get to that point of being realistic with myself, of
Right.
like, okay, I can't do everything when it comes to like service offerings specifically,
Hmm.
because like, yeah, I can do a lot of things. Like with me, I basically use about half of the Adobe suite,
Okay.
because I do like various things. I know how to edit in After Effects. I can work in InDesign. I can do print design. I can do web design. All these various things. But recently, I realized that I kind of need to cut certain offerings and be able to focus in a bit more.
Right.
And if other little things come, cool, but I don't want to present myself in a way where it's like I do all of
The
these things right now,
right. The
because
one-stop shop.
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I had that was a tough decision I kind of had to make recently in order the, to be the best that I can when it comes
Hmm.
to the thing that I'm passionate about, my creative business, and not being stretched too thin.
Right. Well, and the interesting part is you were saying like I had to kind of narrow my focus, and that's typically when businesses do better too. It's like
Yes.
when we're trying to service everyone, we're truly servicing no one. It's like
Right.
you really need to. I hate the word like niche down because it's become this like TikTok centrist, like
Yeah,
this is
it's
my thing
trendy
and this is
thing.
all I do, right? But
Yeah.
to some extent, like it is the truth. Like, for you to really hone in on your own personal marketing, your business marketing, like being able to speak directly to an audience is really, really powerful. So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you've gone through this transformation as to like, everyone who starts their own business is like, I can help everybody. This is my thing.
Yeah.
I love helping everyone. You take on every project, and then we've all had those horror stories that don't come through, but then as the further you get along, you kind of narrow things down, you get more focused. So I'm glad you're able to do that. It's something that we tackle with every day, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
I want
man.
to talk about your podcast as well. So it's the Creatively Paid Podcast, correct? And
Yes.
so how did this passion get started? Because I mean, this is something that every creative needs help with, I find.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, it's been a little thought in my mind for, I would say, at least 2, potentially 3 years.
Okay.
Um, where like I knew I wanted to speak to other creative business owners. I knew I wanted to, like, to be able to have this platform, or create this content stream that is geared around this thing that I really like to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think about my friends and the people that I know really well, I can spend hours talking about various ideas and like business ideas and things that we can do, and things that other businesses could potentially look at doing, and all these various things. So for me, the Creatively Paid podcast was really born from that idea of like, I want to be able to create content for the creative entrepreneur,
Mm.
because the creative entrepreneur is a bit different than, I would say, quote unquote, the regular entrepreneur,
Sure.
because a creative is someone who thinks very differently, and at times really struggles with the business side of things, because we're so artsy in our thinking to an extent. Not
Right.
everyone,
No, not
right?
everyone, but I think
Yeah.
there's a reason why we need creative people, though, right? It's like
Yeah.
I used to get my wife. We always joke like she lives in the clouds, right? Like she's the and for a long time it was like, God, this is. I wish she would be more business centric, right? Like I wish she could. I think my mic's kind of messing around here, but anyways, I wish she could be more focused on the business side of things. But the
Right.
more I kind of let go a little bit, it was like, no, this is exactly what we need. We need someone like me to kind of focus on the business side. And then we need
Right.
someone that can kind of like help us push forward, and
Yeah.
think outside the box. And so I can't agree more with what you're talking about. It's like these
Yeah.
creative people, there's a necessity for them, but they sometimes need that little push to kind of help them be more profitable, delegate some things, you name it. Like it's just that side of it.
Right.
So I love the mission for this whole thing.
Yeah. Like, and honestly, that mission is really what has propelled me to continue pushing. Because at this point in
Hmm.
time, I took a little break, and I've been preparing for season 2 of the Creative
Hmm.
Pay podcast. And there's a lot of things I have in store, and a lot of people that I have lined up to talk to, and various topics to tackle for
Yeah.
those who struggle with their creative entrepreneurship, and specifically building your creative business online, and trying to
Mm.
navigate that and figure that out, because there's just so much out there right now, and I feel like we
It's
just
such a
need a bit
beast.
more clarity. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Is there like a specific like I hate to say target audience. Is there like a certain creative that you enjoy working with more, like a photographer or designer or anything like that, or just kind of like span across it all?
I would say that the ones that I really enjoy talking to the most would be those similar to me,
Mm.
and in some cases not that much similar to me. So that would be like designers, and designers, that's a full there's a lot of different types of
It
people.
is.
But
Yeah.
designers, brand designers, web designers, print designers, so on.
Hmm.
Videographers, photographers, illustrators, um yeah, for the most part, that realm of
Hmm.
people. And of course, that extends to a decent amount of people. Because
Yeah.
there's still those who like DIY and who create various things, and
Hmm.
the Etsy kind of people and so on. But yeah, for the most part, the designer, photography, video crowd,
Yeah.
those are the people that I really enjoy talking to. And I feel like there's so much interesting things to learn in terms of how to run those specific types of businesses, as
Totally.
opposed to a normal accounting business or a law firm or so on.
Well, the cool thing I'm really loving about kind of the business in general moving forward is that like no matter what it is that you do, it could be accounting, you could be a CPA, but you can also
Yeah.
be, you could specialize in, I only do beer can designs, whatever it is, like there is a market for
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
And I think that that's different than it's ever been, because
Yeah.
we all have these platforms now, like, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, like you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want as
Yeah.
long as you're consistent. Seriously, like I mean, there's a lot of people that will push back on this, but it was interesting. I was watching Joe Rogan last night, and he was
Yeah.
talking about how when he moved over to Spotify, there was like all these issues, right? But his main
Mm.
thing was like basically saying, I'm just gonna grind through it. I never stop, and that's why this thing grew, right? It was like
Mm.
podcasting wasn't even a thing, and it
Yeah.
started back in 2009, but he just never stopped. And then all of a sudden, he has this audience, and I think you can use that similar model to do anything you want. And I
Yep.
think coming from your end, where it's like, hey, I'm this creatively paid podcast. Like you could be someone who builds houses out of popsicle sticks, but you make
Right.
YouTube videos about it, and then you do it for a year, and all of a sudden you have 10,000, 50,000 subscribers. It's like you can make money off this. And
Yep.
I think being the voice that can kind of tell these people, like, just go for it, like, can be really
Yeah.
powerful. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit, but like,
I know,
I
man.
honestly
Yeah.
feel this way, is that like,
Yeah.
there's nothing stopping us anymore. You can
Yeah.
find a way to build a business around almost anything.
Yeah. Like honestly, and that's exactly how I feel as well. Like, because I see the opportunity and I see the fact that it's so real.
Mhm.
And it's a shame that a lot of people don't want to still believe at this
They
point.
don't
It's
see
almost
it.
like I'm trying to, yeah, they don't really see it. But I'm like, it's there.
I
And
know.
like I can tell you like one story like for me that happened.
Yeah.
When I really like started to really get kind of dive a bit hard into like online business specifically, because
Hmm.
like before I really like pushed any of my stuff online, I of course was doing things offline, so a lot of client referrals, and that, yeah, through client referrals was
Yeah.
mainly how I was getting business. But yeah, like I would say probably a few years ago at this point, really started to get into the online business kind of things and learning about Facebook ads and so on and so forth. So I remember I bought this product. I really regret it now, but it's like you live and you learn.
Of course.
So I spent like good money, right? And it was this product that was talking about drop shipping,
Mm.
right? I was saying like, oh, we'll give you the exact like um audience to target and so on and so forth, and all you have to do is
It's like,
just set
here's
up
the
the ad
formula, just do
exactly.
it. Right.
Yeah, right. Like we
Right.
have the whole blueprint, just do this. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So I
Right.
tried it out, right? And basically, yeah, it gives you like the blueprint of like what copy to write for the Facebook ad, what picture to use, and
Hmm.
what targeting to use within the Facebook ad manager. So I
Right.
did that, right? And I remember I sold like a a baby carrier, right? So I went ahead and set it up and I pushed the ad out, and within a day, the item got sold. I got like $40 or something like that,
Mm.
and I ended up getting like $20 profit or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that one little thing, even though the product itself and all that blueprint and all that to me was just not really what it was chopped up to be,
Right.
but the premise behind it, it really made me realize that this online thing, really being able to create your own business online, is so real.
Hmm.
The fact that I could just spend not that much time and be able to actually sell a product that someone actually wanted made such a big difference for me.
Oh yeah.
And from then on, I just kind of went really deep into learning as much as I can about how to understand the online landscape when it comes to creating a business that actually can work and being able to create something that you actually love, as
Right.
opposed to just doing something just because it quote unquote can make money. Nowadays, as you said, it could almost be anything
Right. Like
because there's
literally
someone that
anything.
needs it. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of insane. Like, and I I mean, we're in 2021 now, so like I
Yeah.
mean, in the last 6 weeks, there's been so much that happened, but like I'm deep into like side hustle TikTok, where it's like everything's like
Yeah.
you can make 3 grand a day, you can do this, and it's like
Yeah.
half that stuff I'm like whatever. But the
Yeah.
interesting part is that like it can be real if you want it. Like depending on how deep you dive into these things, like that can be your
Yeah.
thing. And then also with like this Wall Street bet stuff that happened, I don't know how much you followed that, but it's like, dude,
Yeah.
you want to be a
GameStop and all
trader?
that.
Yeah, like you want to be a trader? Like
Yeah.
do it. You can do it. Like I've I've invested in Dogecoin, like I'm making some money
Yeah.
here and there, but like the point is that like this whole like go to college, get a job, have a kid, buy a home, all these like this timeline that we were all kind of taught to follow,
Yeah.
fucking throw it out the window, man. Like do whatever you
Yeah.
want, be passionate about something, and just figure out how to make money doing it. I think that's
Right.
like the new thing that we should learn. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, like, because I know how passionate you are about this, like getting creatives paid. Like
Yeah.
I I can't tell you how many people I speak to because we work with a lot of vendors and stuff, and their lack of like salesmanship. I'm like,
Yeah.
guys, you guys provide this amazing service. Like, you're so good at what you do. Like, just learn how to like say that, like just learn how to
Right.
like talk to
Yeah.
people. And so I think it's really admirable, like what you're trying to do here. And I wanted to have you on to kind of talk more about that.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I'm just excited for the journey and being able to continue to speak more about that and to create more content around that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, honestly, there's a lot of plans in place and a lot of things I really want to do. Um,
Yeah. What do you
yeah,
got
I'm
coming
just
up here
excited.
for season 2? So be, before we wrap this thing up, so, and
Mm,
forgive me if I'm wrong, but Allison mentioned that you had kind of taken a social media break. And I'd love to
yes.
ask you, like, because this is something that people you hear all the time, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm getting off Instagram, I'm getting off, like, what was your thought behind that? Because I feel it too.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, especially with 2020, man, I realized that one, I really started to like, I was pushing a lot in terms of just producing, pushing out content, so on and so forth. I was on
Mm,
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And very quickly I realized that shoot, I am burnt out. Right. That plus that combined with realizing that I wanted to clarify my position a bit more in
mm,
terms of what exactly I want to say and who I actually want to say that to.
right.
Because I felt like there was just a lot of noise that I was receiving in terms of like, oh, so many things I could do, so many opportunities, blah, blah, blah. And then that quickly just kind of messed with the original vision that I had for
Mm,
the kind of content I wanted to create. So yeah, I really to this day I'm still kind of on that break.
mm-hmm.
And this month is when I'm kind of going to like start back up again in
Yeah.
terms of like pushing the way I was. Mainly because now I have the focus that I want. I have the vision is really realigned again in
Mm,
terms of who I want to speak to and the type of content I want to create. Yeah. So for the most part, that's kind of why I took that break
yeah.
kind of abruptly. It wasn't like any setup of like, hey guys, going to be gone for a couple of weeks.
Right.
No, I just stopped
To be honest,
posting.
I can't stand that shit when people are like, I'm taking a
Yeah.
break. Bye. It's like, just leave. Just if you're
Yeah.
gonna go, just go. You don't have to make
Yeah.
this public announcement. But hey, man, like I respect the hell out of that because there's been moments in our business too where like you get so busy that you forget you work so hard working on other people's businesses that you kind of lose track of your own business,
Yeah.
and I totally see
100%.
where you're coming from, where you're like, you know what, I need to like you said, realign, reassess, kind of like what did I want out of this thing,
Yeah.
and where is it going and how do I steer the ship back to its original course. So I totally get you there. Kasey, this has been great. Where can people find you? I'd love for people to listen to the podcast and check out Brave Media. So what's the best place where people can find you?
The best place you can find me is I would say you can just go to my website. From there, you can, that's kind of the hub for everything.
Okay.
So just kaseyreid.com or kaseyreid.com.
And it's
And
Kasey with a K and an S,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Get right.
KASEYREID.
Right.
Yeah. So you can go there. And for my Instagram, it's just Kasey K Reid. For my Instagram, and for Brave Media, it's Brave Media KY for my Instagram handle for Brave Media. But for the most part, my website is kind of the hub. So you can find everything there in terms
Perfect.
of me.
Awesome, man. Well, this was a great conversation. I really thank you for being on, and we'll have to have you on again and see how season 2 is going.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'll be glad to come on again, man.
All right, man. Well, thanks again.